You booked it, episode 181. What's going on, everyone? Thank you for joining me today on You Booked It, the #1 podcast where you learn how to create a successful entertainment career. Over the past few months, I have been working in the background putting together a little something that is pretty cool, and it is finally ready to share with you. I am excited to announce the You Booked It community. It is your go-to career resource and the only platform worldwide that covers the entire entertainment industry. From unlimited masterclasses to building industry relationships to chatting with Tony winners, Emmy nominees, and past podcast guests, the community has everything you need to navigate a successful entertainment career. Check it out for yourself. Head over to youbookeditpodcast.com/community or tap the link in the description of this episode, and we'll see you inside. And now, let's meet today's guest. Okay, let's get started. I am excited to introduce my guest today, Melody A. Betts. Are you ready for this, Melody?
Of course I am.
Brilliant. From the national tour of The Sound of Music, Melody was last seen in the world premiere of Secret of My Success as Rose Lockhart. She was recently Becky/Nurse Norma on Broadway and the first national tour of Waitress the Musical, directed by Tony Award winner Diane Paulus. Melody received her Master's of Fine Arts degree from WIU and then went on to play in regional theaters all over the nation. She cultivated her professional acting career in Chicago, where she was last seen in the Jeff Award-winning production of Ragtime as Sarah's friend. You may also recognize her from appearances on the following TV shows: Chicago Code, Chicago PD, Power on Stars, and Jesus Christ Superstar Live on NBC with John Legend. She is also a proud member of AEA, SAG-AFTRA, and BMI. Melody, that is a quick intro of who you are and what you've done, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, fill in the gaps, and a little bit more about what you do as a professional in the entertainment industry?
Sure. Well, Melody Betts. I am an actress, singer, songwriter. My resume consists of musical theater productions, but I also do television and film, and I love to write, actually. I am from Chicago. I was actually born in Baltimore, Maryland, but I've lived the majority of my life in Chicago. So I consider myself a native, Chi-Town girl.
Yeah.
And I went to Olivet College for undergrad, and then I went to Western Illinois University for graduate school, where I received my Master's of Fine Arts in acting. I grew up in a family that were churchgoers, so I spent a lot of my youth in church. My mother, at a very young age, started lessons for me, dance lessons and vocal lessons, and I started acting when I was about 5, but I started singing more seriously in church. And I did that for many years. I was always interested in the theater and being on stage. It started when I was in elementary school, and I did this production of, oh my goodness, I don't even remember the name of it. I just remember I was an unruly kid who was kidnapped by robbers, and I basically made their lives miserable, and then they gave me back. That was the basis.
Sounds like a brilliant story.
It was perfect for me. That was the start of really realizing that theater was something that I might want to do. I knew that I enjoyed it, and so I continued to participate in theater from then on. I went to a performing arts high school in Chicago called Lincoln Park. I was a theater major, did many productions there. I was a dance and voice minor. And then I went on to undergrad, where after 2 years, decided to major in theater. And I've done nothing ever since.
Brilliant. Love the synopsis. And let's dig into this first section here. And Melody, of course, I am a sucker for a good quote. What is your favorite quote you'd like to share with everyone?
Sure, I would love to share my quote. My quote is a little long, so I'm going to summarize it.
Great.
But it's a Mandela quote from a
Hmm.
speech that he did that I believe his wife actually wrote. But it goes something like this: Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And it goes on, but it closes with, as we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
Yeah, that is so good. I've heard that quote before. I'm not sure if I've heard it on this podcast yet,
Mhm.
but can you delve into how you've applied that quote or how it's worked its way into your career?
We have so many wonderful examples of this in our lives.
Hmm.
One of those people that stands out to me that lives this out loud is Dolly Parton, who's interestingly enough, I'm not a fan of country music, but I love her, just her
Right.
as a person. And there are many other people that I could name, but she is a prime example of what it means to 100% be yourself, live your truth out loud with no apologies. And every day of my life, no matter how weird I might seem to people or strange, I try to live that way myself in front of people, to fearlessly walk into spaces and fill them up as my spirit deems necessary, as myself without any apology. I believe that doing so also gives other people permission to do the same.
Yeah, 100%. And I've had a few people. First off, did you watch the Christmas on the Square on Netflix?
I have not watched that one yet, no.
Yeah, I just watched it last night. It's really great, but it's Dolly Parton's latest
Uh-huh.
movie and she's in it. And I've had a few different people on the podcast that were part of that movie and that production, and all of them have nothing but amazing things to say, specifically about Dolly Parton, how amazing she is as a person with
Mm-hmm.
everyone, the cast and the crew, just the way she conducts herself through life. So it's fantastic. What a great role model, a great person to bring up here. Love it.
Yeah, like I said, she's just one of the people.
Yeah, of
However,
course.
she's a great example of that. I just love how big and bold she is. And I remember watching a documentary not too long ago about her. And she talked about how people referred to her as tacky back in the day because of the costumes that she chose and the big hair and all the makeup. And she made a decision to not listen to the naysayers and
Mm,
continue to be exactly who she was. And that's inspirational.
yeah, 100%. And let's get into this next section here. And Melody, of course, you're an entertainer. I'm an entertainer. And I think that you'd agree that this industry can be one of the most subjective, brutally honest, and personally emotional industries in existence. And you
Mm-hmm.
know as well as I that in order to create and have a successful career in this industry like you're having now takes a lot of dedication and hard work. And while, yes, there's an outrageous amount of fun and excitement doing what we do, there are also our fair share of obstacles, challenges, and failures we
Mm-hmm.
are going to experience and we're going to have to move forward through. So tell us, what is one key challenge, obstacle, or failure you've experienced in your career? Just one. And how did you come out the other side better because of it?
Oh, I love this question so much. So go figure, I'm an actress. I'm extremely sensitive.
Hmm.
And I also believe that I'm very likable. And so when I found out not too long ago doing a show that a coworker didn't care for me, it was hard to swallow. I have to say that growing up outside of the theater world, you deal with different kinds of challenges, and you will find in many different times in your life that you will run up against a challenge, personality challenges with other people. But in the theater, sometimes we like to put on a happy face a lot of the times. I don't think that it's fake. I just think that people, including myself, always want to have positive theatrical experience. And I had heard horror stories throughout my career where people bumped heads and I had never experienced it myself. And so when I heard the horror stories, I was always in shock. Like, oh, I can't believe you were in a cast where you had issues with people, but we are human beings. And so it's inevitable, right? I worked really closely on stage with this individual who, though I did not give him a reason to have an issue with me personally, he did. And there's nothing that you can really do about that, to change someone's mind.
Right.
And it spilled over onto the stage, which was the problem. That's where the problem began. And like I said, I'm extremely sensitive. So I didn't know what to do about that at first, especially because it's not something that I experienced throughout my career. I'm a decade in. And I had to, number one, get over myself. Number two, I had to learn how to take the time to advocate for myself and have hard conversations and bring awareness to whatever the problem was and find a way to remedy it. And that's something that I don't think we have enough practice in our particular industry, where you run into somebody who you have to be very close to on stage and work with. The theatrical industry, we are a community, and everybody's part is important because it has to all work well, like a well-oiled machine, in order for it to be what it's supposed to be, in order for us to properly tell the story. And so everybody's participation is pertinent to making what we do a success. And so you can't really have those types of situations in a show without addressing them. And I don't think that we know that enough. I don't think we have enough practice in dealing with issues like that.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. And thank you for sharing that because that's something that's not being brought up on this podcast yet. And that's it's so great to have this platform because these are issues that we can all reflect back on our careers and go, oh, yeah, that time with that person. But we don't really ever express it and talk about it. So thank you so much because that's what's making this podcast so important, such a fantastic resource for everyone out there that's making this entertainment life their careers.
Yeah, I think that the thing is that because we're all human beings and we all have our own backgrounds and our own baggage and experiences, that sometimes bumping heads is inevitable. It's
Yeah.
inevitable in this business, especially with us we have to be in a place where we're so vulnerable that we allow a whole nother being into ourselves to experience what their walk of life is so that we can communicate that to an audience. So we're always open. And
Yeah.
so having emotional issues, sometimes it's bound to happen. And I think what we need to talk about with our younger actors and actresses is that it's okay when stuff like that does happen. And also, there's always an advocate in the room for you, but you have to be the first one. You have to be the one who's willing to say, hey, something's happening that's not right. And instead of what I believe is the normal habit of grinning and bearing it or not saying anything at all because it's a temporary situation and you'll get through it eventually. Instead of doing that, I think that the better decision to make is to address whatever the problem is and make sure that you see your stage manager, you talk to the people who are available that are supposed to help you, your company manager, to remedy whatever the issues are, because any type of issue inside of a production is going to affect your ability to be successful and to be fully 100% present so that you can do your job well.
Yeah, for sure. And you're right. As entertainers, we are, like you said, we are very emotional. We are very vulnerable. It's not like a regular job where you are sending emails, or maybe you have to endure the occasional luncheon or something like that with these
Right.
people. You have to be so emotional and vulnerable with these people on stage. And I think you can look at it from the perspective is we all want the same thing, right? We all want to tell the story authentically in the best way we can, right? And
Yes.
have these wonderful relationships that pertain very specifically to the story. And if your personal relationships are getting in the way, it can make it more challenging. So
Yes.
of course it's awkward and not enjoyable, and it's easy to default, like you said, to just grinning and bearing it because you're like, oh, I've only got 6 more months of this contract. I can do this. It's better to lay it out there, work through that problem in a safe way, because ultimately no one's trying to attack the other person. Ultimately, we all want the same things. We just have this little issue we need to help try to resolve. Because here's the thing as well. You might think you've got 6 more months of a contract with someone, but once you've been doing this in this business a little bit of time, you start working with people again. And you start working with friends of those people. The networks get very tight, and it's again, this whole industry is about relationships. You want your reputation, your relationships, your network of people to be strong and wonderful and supportive, and you can help that by also making sure that if there are any hiccups and just strained relationships along the way, to try to iron those out as best you can, so that community, your network, your community can also stay strong and supportive. Yeah, so good.
Leave no stone unturned.
That's it. Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up. I think that is so important and needed to be said. Thank you.
Pleasure.
And let's go on to a time that I like to call your spotlight moment. That one moment in time you realized, yes, I am going to be an entertainer for a living. Or maybe it was, yes, this is what I need to be doing in the entertainment industry. Tell us about that.
Well, first, I want to give a shout out to my mother who spent my entire lifetime nurturing my creative abilities
Hmm.
and making it a point to lead me in the direction that I needed to go. My mother was a dancer. And because of her family's church involvement, especially because she's in the generation before me, they discouraged her from being a dancer. And she was a great dancer. What she did in turn with her children was to build upon the things that we were given naturally, or whatever our abilities were, whether they were in art or business or what have you. And she made it a point to teach us that wherever you're going, it has to do with what you've already been given. And so
Hmm.
it was instilled in me as a young person that wherever my talents lied, whatever gifts I had, I were supposed to pay attention to those things, my talents and my gifts, and the things that made me happy. And so I figured out that acting and being on stage and performing made me happy. And my mother, from my upbringing, gave me the permission to go after that with no shame. And so that's where it started first. But I really didn't, she's the one who gave me the faith that I could do this as a living and not have to have a plan B or a fallback, or because she ended up being an educator, which she loves, but that was her fallback because she was a beautiful, wonderful dancer. She could have danced. I didn't realize that acting, singing, or any of that, I didn't realize that was going to be my full-time career until I would have to say my second or third year in undergrad. So when I was in college, or when I went into college, I thought, and this is just something that I did, maybe it was because I had heard from other people that being an artist wasn't lucrative. I decided to major in journalism because I thought it was safe. And then I quickly realized that I wasn't going to be a journalist because they have to be up at the butt crack of dawn, and that's just not in my spirit. So then I switched my major to education because I love children and I thought that I would love to be a teacher. I realized soon that wasn't the case for me either. I just didn't have the love for either one of those careers that I do for theater. And so I want to say somewhere in my sophomore year, between my sophomore and junior year, I decided that I was going to full out major in musical theater and acting, take it seriously, and put all my efforts towards that. And so I did. I haven't looked back.
Beautiful. Well, let's piggyback on that real quick and let's talk about your number one booked it moment. Walk us through that day, the auditions and callbacks, if they happen to be a part of it. What was going on in your life, and what about that moment makes it your favorite booked it moment?
Wow. I have a few, but I think my first booked it moment had to be when I booked The Mother Abbess in The Sound of Music.
Mm.
I had just recently moved to New York and I'm a single mother and I was living in Jersey in a small apartment. And I remember my manager giving me a call and saying, "Hey, they're looking for someone to fulfill or fill a spot in the Mother Abbess spot for Ashley Brown because she is pregnant, she is leaving to have a baby, and they need someone to come fill in that spot." I personally thought, isn't that a white production? Aren't is My thoughts were everyone in that show is white, so why are they calling me? And I think there was doubt that I would get it because of that was one reason. Also because I was fairly new on the scene and I don't know what I was thinking. I suppose that I believed that it was possible somewhere inside of myself, or else I would not have gone in.
Yeah.
But I went into the audition and it was at Telsey and Company. And Rachel Hoffman was in the room. And she had seen me before. I'd worked with her before. And there were some new people in the room. Andy Einhorn, someone who I'd never worked with before, was a great musical director, musician, composer. And then I believe that was the first audition. So I went in the first time, I read, I felt good about I felt good about the Mother Abbess's relationship to Maria. I felt personally that I could relate to that because I was
Mm.
a mother myself. And I saw some other brown faces in the room. And so my thoughts were, oh, okay, so this must be a situation where they're trying to find someone, they're trying to do blind color casting on this particular show. And then I believed a little bit more that it was possible to get it. I think there was also some desperation. There was a feeling of desperation for me because I wasn't working at the time. My money was running low. And that is a huge problem when you are not just by yourself and you have someone else to provide for and take care of. So I really did go in trying to do my absolute best because I did want to book it. I wanted to book it because I needed to take care of my child, but also I wanted to book it because I knew that it was a great opportunity. I knew exactly who Jack O'Brien was. I met him some years before at a gala that I was singing at, and he was very complimentary to me regarding my performance. He was lovely, actually. And I wanted to work with him again, or I wanted to work with him, period. I didn't work with him for that concert, but he was there in the room, him and Katie Holmes, I believe. And they called me back, which I was really grateful for. And that's when I really felt like the possibility of me actually booking this is greater than maybe what I had imagined before. I went in and for the callback, and Jack O'Brien was in the room at this time. I had classical training in the past, but it had been a very long time since I used that skill because I have a background in gospel singing, so I did a lot of belting. And so that's what people usually hired me for. So the legit singing skill was in my bag. It just needed some dusting off and some training, maybe some coaching.
Yeah.
So I went into the room and Andy Einhorn was there. And when it came to the acting, again, I just felt so connected to the Mother Abbess and her relationship with Maria. And I remember Jack O'Brien taking me through a few scenes and giving me some really great direction just to help me to ground that character a little bit more. And I remember once I took his note and we went through this one scene again, we were all in tears afterward. And then they said, okay, now it's time to sing. And I was like, I'm not done crying. But I remember being in that room and not even thinking about, I need to book this job. I had removed all of that from me and I was really present that day. And I was present in the experience. I was present as an actress, as the character. I was just really present. And I just remember connecting on another level, a very personal level. And it was very emotional. It makes me a little bit emotional now thinking about being in that room that day.
Mm.
And then I was asked to sing, and my legit voice was, like I said, it was shaky. But Andy Einhorn heard something and saw something in that audition that he felt was worthy of hiring me and allowing me to coach a little bit before and throughout the process, which helped me to strengthen a skill that I already had so that I could perform the character and the song. And I remember after leaving that room, I was so full from the experience. I almost forgot about it. I almost forgot that, oh, I have to wait to hear about what's supposed to happen after this. I remember getting on the little bus, not even the New Jersey, but like I didn't go to Port Authority, which you usually do. You get on the big buses that take you across through the tunnel. I got on like what do they call it? The gypsy buses or whatever.
Yeah.
Just remember it being a dark experience leaving that place because I got on that bus, and usually that bus makes me feel like a little bit gross because there's so many people on it. It's so small, and there were people coughing. And there was some sadness about heading back home to this little bitty apartment that I didn't even like that much. And before I could walk to my apartment, the phone rang and it was my manager and he told me that I got the gig and I was so overjoyed. All the disbelief and the doubt had been washed away and I was just really grateful for that moment in my life. And I knew that I was doing what I was supposed to be doing.
Oh, that is such a good story. And I love as well that you said you almost forgot in a way that you were auditioning, that you were there to, try to book a job, that you were present, that you were just acting and being one with the material and the character and everything in the songs. And that idea, that feeling has come up so many times through this interview process of speaking with different people who've booked great works. And it's that feeling of being ultra present and not being stressed about having to book that job or being overwhelmed or being nervous. It's just being present. And that is truly showing itself as the fundamental key to what is getting yourself booked for anything, really.
It's the best way to audition. If you can shake off everything, your challenges, the things that are bothering you, whatever's stressing you out, if you can shake those things off so that you can really take in the space and take in the experience and just be there, it's the best way to go about auditioning. I try to reach for that every time I go into the room. Just leave everything outside of the door, look
Yeah.
around, stand flat-footed on the ground, ground yourself, and take in the entire experience.
Yeah, take in the entire experience. I think that's it right there. And let's take a moment to talk about the present. What projects are you working on now? What are you looking forward to? And it's a weird time, right? We're amidst this global pandemic. How do you see the entertainment industry moving forward in the next couple of years?
It's been quite interesting not having any theater to go to. I
Mm.
know a lot of my friends, my colleagues have been extremely depressed about theaters being closed. Even theater goers that I know who are never on the stage have been quite sad about it. And I agree with that spirit of sadness when it comes to our industry being closed right now. I miss it dearly. So what I've been doing has been a lot of my own projects. I recorded some music some time ago and stopped production on it, didn't go any further with it. And so I've decided to pull those files back out and have everything mixed and mastered professionally. So I hope to release some music in the very near future. I've been working on my own clothing line. So Sky Children Apparel belongs to me, and I've been working
Cool.
on some great designs, and we're planning a huge launch in February. So I've been working on that, and I've been writing, just writing, writing. I took a master class with Aaron Sorkin, so I've been working on honing that skill, working on screenplays and even some docuseries treatments. And I've even started a play of my own. So that's what I've been doing a lot of. And then when I can get a reading or if something comes through, if an audition comes through for television, or I've also been doing the Renaissance Theater Works. I just did it was a play because it wasn't a reading for Renaissance Theater Works of Milwaukee. I just did Poof, directed by Marty Goebel with a close friend of mine, LaCrissa Granberry. And we just completed that not too long ago. And so any opportunity that I get to act, I try to take it.
Yeah, so good. And I love that you've also, in this lull of creativity and performance in the traditional sense, is that you've taken it on yourself. You say, look, I'm also responsible for creating art and my creativity and expressing that. And I can do this myself as well.
I think what we're going to find, and this is one of the things that I'm looking forward to, I think that we're going to find that there are many artists who are doing that right now, creating work for themselves. And when all of this is over, there are going to be many new playwrights and choreographers
Mm.
and directors and stage managers and casting directors that are going to be coming through the ranks. And I look forward to that. I look forward to seeing new creations, new plays written by people. I know a lot of people who are at home writing right now. And so I am looking forward to all of the new works that are coming after this. And I'm hoping that theater is going to change when this is all over, and that it's going to be more inclusive on every level. I am hoping that is one of the things that's going to change when this is all over, because many people have been speaking up about the inconsistencies, or not just the inconsistencies, but injustices inside of our industry. And I think we are coming upon a time where every aspect of the theater is going to be more inclusive.
Mm.
And that is something that I'm looking forward to, because I believe that will make our industry that much better.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And it is time to move on to one of my favorite sections in the interview. I call it the Grease Lightning Round. I am going to ask you a handful of questions. I want you to answer them as quickly and concisely as possible, one after another. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, first question. What was the one thing holding you back from committing to a career as an entertainer?
Other people's ideologies.
Second question. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Be yourself. Being yourself is enough.
Third question. What is something that is working for you right now? Or if you'd like to go pre-COVID, what was working for you before our industry went on pause?
What was working for me, or what works for me? Like the last question, being myself.
Perfect. Fourth question, what is your best resource? Whether that is a book, a movie, a YouTube video, maybe a podcast or piece of technology you've found is helping your career right now.
Oh, having an at-home studio. It's the best.
Yes. Fifth question, if you had to start your career from scratch, but you still had all the knowledge and experience you've collected from your career in this industry, what would you do or not do? Would you do anything differently or would you keep it the same?
If I had all of the knowledge that I have now and I had to start over, I would go even harder than I have in the past. I would go after so much more and try to reach higher heights more quickly.
Yes. And the last question, what is the golden nugget knowledge drop you've learned from your successful career in this industry you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Live life. If you're going to be an actress or an actor, you have to live life and understand what it is that people go through, people's feelings, the reason why people make choices. And the only way you can do that is if you have practice. So live.
Oh, so good. And to wrap up this interview, Melody, it is time to give yourself a plug. Where can we find you? How do our listeners connect with you? Is there anything you want to promote?
Sure. You can find me on Instagram mostly at Melody Betts Page, MELODYBETTSPAGE, or come over and visit us at my clothing line at Sky_Children_Apparel on Instagram.
Beautiful. And for everyone listening out there, I have put the links to both things Melody just said into the description of this episode so you can easily connect with her. And also, be sure to share this podcast with your fellow entertainers, coaches, teachers, arts and entertainment educators, and anyone you know aspiring to create a career in the entertainment industry. You Booked It is the #1 resource of expertise on how to actually create a successful entertainment career. It is integral to helping them succeed and helping you create a better, more fulfilling career in this wild and crazy industry we all love. If you enjoyed this episode, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Melody, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Thank you. It's been such a pleasure to have you on.
Same.
Thank you so much for listening today. If you enjoyed this episode and want more like it, be sure to smash that subscribe button. Also, be sure to jump inside the brand new You Booked It community. Head over to youbookeditpodcast.com/community or tap the link in the show notes right now and take your career to the next level. Inside, you'll connect with your people and develop real industry relationships, which, by the way, this podcast has discovered is the #1 fundamental that creates long-term career success. Discover opportunities and join in on over 20 upcoming live masterclasses. Tap the link in the description of this episode, and I'll see you there.